Welcome to the Content Creator's Guide. This is a place where we expand our knowledge on what it takes to be successful in an ever-expanding world of content creation. Join me as I sit down with individuals sharing their success stories and tips that help them get over the hurdles they faced on their journey to creation success. All right, let's create. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Content Creator's Guide. I will be your host, Patrick Conway, also known in other circles as Jaxus. Today we'll be talking to the creator of the true Vault Escapades. If I said that right, I hope I said that right. Escapades. 120 plus downloads and has featured voice actors like Ryan I'm going to say this wrong. Alacio? Is that right? Is that Alacio?
Yeah, that sounds better.
The voice actor of Deacon from Fallout 4. He appears in a cameo in the True Vault Escapades in the case of the Cursed Cruise. He plays a short little cameo there as Scott Rollins, and this show has been around since 2016. All right, so this guy's got his foot way up in that door. All right, just so you know, he's also been a nominee for the 2020 Here Now Audio Drama Festival for his work on the Midnight series, which is a BioShock podcast, exploding into the 10,000 download range and, projected with huge success. Please give a warm welcome to my guest, Preston Hardin, a.k.a. the Atomic Wolf. How you doing?
Thank you. Good, great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. I am so glad that you've given me your time today. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and get right into I tend to go boom, right into things. I like to get right into the meat of the subject. So
Absolutely.
My first thing is, what inspired you to get into content creation?
Ooh, well, I guess I've always been in that circle because I can recall as furthest back as middle school. This was, in the age of like Samsung flip phones, so I couldn't get Google Docs out and start putting things out on like fanfiction.net. But I took things, particularly Fallout, that I fell in love with when I was introduced to the, I guess, mature gaming scene, and I started writing them down on notebook paper, and I would just keep writing chapters to let the time go by. And as time progressed, I guess, and I discovered YouTube and podcasting and other things like that, I began to use those mediums as ways to put my creations out there just for fun, which they still kind of are now, like just a hobby. I did not expect it to kind of explode in the way it has today, but here we are. And I'm still going. So just like things I like basically is what inspired me. I just love gaming, love Fallout, love BioShock, and I just wanted to kind of throw it up everywhere.
And you love writing, apparently, because you do a great job at it.
Thank you.
I can't say enough. Like, I really enjoy the adventures that they go on. Your characters are vibrant, they're live. Walter is great. He's like a throwback. Bunny. The name does not fit the chick, man. So you think Bunny, you're expecting some airhead right off the bat. She's no airhead. That is for sure.
Right.
That is a great character. I love the show. And then the BioShock spin-off elements to it. And then this new thing that we're traveling into here, the adventures, my brain's shutting off.
Cage Chronicles?
Cage Chronicles, which is something I'm starting to get involved with myself, which is great. I love voice acting, so anytime I get an opportunity to be a part of something like this is great.
Likewise.
So when you first started, what was your hardest hurdle to get past when you first started, and how did you get around that?
Oh boy. So of course, without tooting my horn, writing was the easiest part, and I was already predicting there being a lot of speed bumps in the terms of production. So it happened, and that was editing. And actually, let's take it back. Voice acting, the casting process. I did not know anything about Casting Call Club or all of the usual websites and ways to get voice actors as amateur as they could be. I just wanted a decent cast, and back then my only medium was Instagram, which was at the time known as all_Fallout, which is now Atomic_Wolf. And I would just reach out to people there saying, hey, I got a Fallout show I'm putting out and I would like people to take part in it. And of course, I get a ton of DMs and emails. I give these examples, which were like, I link old time radio shows so you can understand the bent I'm trying to get this sounding like. And I want to say 90% of the auditions I got were like children, and I was not expecting. I did not know that. I did not know. I mean, back then Instagram had no insights. I had no idea what my fan base was, and they were either really young, and I wanted them to sound like Humphrey Bogart, but the other end, the audio quality was super bad, and I just didn't know anything about like stuff like that, technical stuff. And when that was done, the editing process was just a pain because I didn't know anything about software. So I just got this bootleg Sony Vegas Pro, and I still use it to this day, actually. And I just like the sound effects and the dialogue placement. And I didn't even know what WAV and MP3 files were. I just send me whatever. And
you were just like, let's shoot from the hip and see where this goes, right?
Yes, and I wanted it to be released before Fallout 4, actually, because there was a lot of hype at that time. And I began writing the series, I want to say in 2013 or 14, and it didn't actually see the light of day until 2016. So Fallout 4 had already been released, and I was a little disappointed, but just the process itself, it was a lot of stuff for somebody who had no idea about editing and casting.
So now that you've gone through all these hurdles and bumps in the road and stuff, you've got a lot of insights now. And that's kind of what my show's about. It's about to help people who are trying to go through the steps that you went through without going through so many of the hurdles.
Yes.
So that being said, one of the things I'd like to ask you is, what did you find worked best for you in regard of mic and sound quality? Like microphones,
For the voice actors?
Yeah.
My biggest problem dealing with them, or even just the people who were just auditioning and didn't make it, was background noise. I didn't know, like many things I didn't know back then about different mics. So I didn't know about Blue Yeti, Snowball, XLR shotgun mics. At that time, I just was like, give me good quality, give me something that doesn't have a lot of hissing, static, et cetera, et cetera. And I noticed the most common microphone that even a lot of my voice actors use nowadays is the Blue Yeti, which is like, entry level. And honestly, it just gets the job done. Sound space, if it's minimal, if it's just slightly padded, it tends to work for me. And especially with my editor, he is a wizard, I like to call him, and he can help just increase the quality. So yeah, I think it's just sound space mainly, though. Yeah,
sound space, somewhere quiet without a lot of background fans. And
yes.
See, I don't know if you can hear my fan, but I do have a fan going. The thing is I can make the fan go away. You won't hear that later. And I do that through editing, which is my next question. What do you recommend for editing a show?
Well, so I managed to, through trials and tribulations, get through this process by having an editor. But what I do, though, I have my own part I have to fulfill. I just use any sort of editing software. It can be Audacity or Sony Vegas. Like I said, it's still bootlegged. And I just do that. I have my voice actors usually send me, I'm sure I told you, just send me scene per scene in a different file. And so I can just organize it from there. And then I just use one of those, just nothing too complicated, but if you can or afford it, see if you can find yourself just somebody, even an amateur, who is good at mixing and engineering dialogue to help just polish the final product, which, I want to give a shout out to Ethan Walsh. He's been a fan of the show for a while now, and he happens to be an audio engineer professional, and he's been helping me with the show since then. So, either works. I used to do it without him. I used to just do editing, polishing, anything I could in my amateur way.
In a way to make it sound good. Yeah, you were like, Listen to it 100 times. If I don't hear all the cracks and pops, I did something right. All right,
That's exactly my mindset, yes.
Yeah, I understand completely. And a lot of people out there will understand that completely.
Yes.
So I did send you a little text a second ago in your thing, just so you have I have a question for you that I want you to ponder till the end of the show.
Okay.
All right. So folks, we're going to kind of take a little break here. This is kind of like my mid-break. This is where I'm going to say thank you to all my Patreon listeners for your support. And if you have not yet, please follow, like, subscribe, and be sure to write a review of our show also, because it helps me with my algorithm so people can see who I am. If you could please send me an email with your comments and questions to ccreatorsguide@gmail.com, or follow me at, sorry, I always say at and then I say at again and it feels so weird to say that. At ccreatorsguide, and then I want to say .com after that. It's not a .com, that's just the Twitter name. But we'll be right back after this message and a short clip from today's talent. Due to some technical difficulties, I'll be setting up today's clip. In today's clip, we have Walter and Bunny trying to smoke out a mercenary by the name of Alan Marks out of a building, and it's just kind of how they go about doing it, and I hope you enjoy. Here's the clip.
Alan Marks! Mr. Alan Marks! This is Lieutenant Humphreys of the New California Republic. We hereby order you to step out of the house with your hands in the air. You are being detained on the grounds of multiple counts of murder. Do you hear me? This is the end of the line for you.
The shadow moved.
Yes, I see.
If you do not reveal yourself to us, we will have no choice but to use deadly force. Do you hear me, Alan Marks? Look, I am no negotiator, nor do I plan to be. You have one option or the other. I have more than 10 men here ready to fire upon you, and I have a short fuse. It would be in your best interest to give yourself up, Alan.
Well, he's not exactly dangling any bait to grease him out.
Oh, he took it. Now all that's left for him is to either die right here or die sometime later in NCR custody.
The light just cut off.
What? Oh, no.
Hide all you want, mercenary! You're only going to make your final moments more pathetic as you scurry like a rat in the darkness. This is your last warning. Open the door, come out unarmed, and surrender yourself. I don't think he's doing it. Okay, boys, move in and... He's shooting back! Open fire!
He's firing from inside the house.
Alan, no!
Stay down, Cynthia. Come on, Bunny. Let's help them out.
Right there, by the window.
We've got men down!
Humphreys, tell them to deploy grenades. We need to clear them out right this second.
Right, Walter! Deploy frags, boys! Deploy frags! Get down, everybody!
Welcome back, everybody. What went through your head when coming up with a name for your show?
Oh, that's a good one. So I was actually in the shower one day after formulating this plan. Yeah, after
the scrub-a-dub-dub in the way, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
the entire podcast, in fact, began just by listening to a song of which I have the record for. "Let Me Love You Tonight" by Charlie Spivak, I think is how you pronounce it. Spivak. From 1944. It sounded like a radio style intro to me. It's this old big band song.
Okay.
And I was like, this would go so well with a old time radio show. And I love Fallout, so let's mix them together. And when I was thinking of names that very night, I was in the shower and I was thinking about what's something that sounds like pulpy and poppy, something that you'd see on an old comic book back in the 40s or something, or in Fallout. And really, I couldn't really find something super original, so what I did was I thought of the magazines, the skill magazines from Fallout 3 in New Vegas. One of them is called True Police Stories, which features detectives
I remember that. Yeah.
And so I just wanted like something about just true. I don't know what that was. It just sounds so like, oh wow, this is gripping. It's true. And so
it had a dynamic element to it.
Yeah, and
I got you.
Like, instead of true police stories, true Vault Escapades. So I sort of pictured it like a skill magazine that you could pick up. So that's where it came from.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, and then it also gives you a very, very distinct idea of what your show is about. And I think that's a very, very common thing that people miss. Like they come up with, catchy names, but it doesn't really tell you what it's about. It doesn't give you any kind of bite. And I noticed that. So, I mean, that's great. I love that. All right, this is one for you. What is a question that content creators fail to ask? And of course, what would the answer to that question?
Goodness. Off the top of my head, what does the audience want? And I mean, if you're making a show for yourself, like that's one thing. But I mean, if you are trying to appease an audience or just give the people what they want, I think that's something a lot of people may not ask themselves because, I mean, why not? I mean, I can always find a way to mold what they want into something that sits right with me and put it out there because, gosh, that is kind of a weird thing. I don't know. I can't really give any examples of creators whom I think have or haven't listened to that before, but I find myself catching myself doing that sometimes, like
failing to ask that question of yourself when you're coming up with something,
like
right?
For instance, people thought that Bunny at some point in the show stopped becoming that badass detective girl that she was sometime in the middle, like in the strip, when I called the show The Strip, and she sort of became the damsel in distress. And I had sort of lost just her character for a moment, I guess, just a little bit. And I started seeing a trend of people saying that, and I started to just reinvigorate Bunny again, bringing her back to her roots, where she.
I could almost tell you where that happened.
Yes,
I felt like there was a point where she was softening up. I think it was becoming more relationship elemented for a moment, like between her and Walter. And then there was this like turn where it was like, okay, we need to toughen her up and make it where like she's a crack shot, and so that that seemed like, okay, Walter's missing shots now and he's needing help, and okay, now Bunny can start help saving him. And I saw that kind of like not really a total change, but like a melding. And I thought that was great.
The show itself is actually based, not just the song I mentioned earlier, but the show is actually a direct inspiration from this very popular detective serial known as Nick Carter, Master Detective, which was a huge radio series back in the day. And I literally molded Walter and Bunny after with just a few tweaks. And Bunny is based after Patsy, who is Nick's secretary and partner, and they'll do cases together. She, of course, in 40s fashion, is the damsel in distress all the time. And I think I was trying too hard to make her Patsy and try to make it more like Nick Carter instead of its own thing for a short period of time. And
afraid to let go and just let it do its thing.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I forget. I was adding tweaks to Nick Carter, not trying to imitate Nick Carter. So that's what happened. Yeah.
And I can tell that Walter brought some of his own elements. That the character actor who plays Walter brought some of his own juice to that. I could tell.
Eric Huffman, he is incredibly Humphrey Bogart sounding when he wants to. Yes, he does an incredible job. In fact, I think he is the only voice actor on the show who's been here since the beginning. Yeah. Everyone's been switched out, or
I think you've changed Bunny like 3 times.
I have. Yeah, it's crazy to think how long he's stuck around, but yeah, don't intend on changing that anytime soon.
Who else are you going to get to make him sound like that?
Right, who else sounds like Humphrey Bogart like that?
Like, I can do a lot of voices. I don't know if I can copy that one.
It's so unique. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is very unique voice. I can get an old-timer voice, but I don't know about that one. Man, yeah, I think he's incredible. I really... So, what do you got coming up next, and where can people find you?
Okay. What do I got coming up next? So we are about to enter into episode 5 of the Cage Chronicles. That leaves us with just 6 more episodes to go in all, and then we will expect a return of Walter and Bunny in season 6. So,
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
This was just a deviation. I wanted to try something new, something like a smaller miniseries, and
I have to say I am enjoying it so far that I've listened to it. I've really enjoyed it, and it's not just because I'm in it.
Yeah, big Mandalorian vibes in the Cage Chronicles, which is another inspirational thing I wanted to add in there, and I thought would be a great deviation. But yes, beyond that, I've got huge episodes with huge plot twists and stuff coming for the return of Walter and Bunny, so keep an eye out for that. And they can find True Vault Escapades on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts, basically. I've got it also releases on YouTube. You can find me on Atomic Wolf there, and I've got a Patreon if you'd like to support, because I release new episodes there as a sneak peek before everybody else. So that's going to be patreon.com/abombradio for my Fallout radio station. They sort of, both those creations kind of tie in.
I read the article on that whole thing. Ooh, man.
Yeah, we'll have to do a whole new episode for
right, just on the what happened with all the radio stuff. Oh my god.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a like internet radio is not easy. It's really bizarre, but I make it work somehow.
Make sure you own your stuff, guys. There's a lesson for you.
Yeah.
All right. So now for my final question. What key takeaway would you like listeners to get from your time here on this interview?
So I did think about that, and I think that the biggest thing, and that goes for anything you do, you should be doing it for fun. Of course, have great ambitions for the future, and, those things will come as you do those things, but, do it as a hobby that you enjoy doing frequently, and not as something you see just to do for, I don't know, profit, views, clicks, whatever it may be, because I believe that just takes the fun out of it for you. And that's how I began True Vault Escapades, as something fun. And yes, as I've continued to do it, great things have happened, and I'm sure great things will continue to happen. But I do those things because I have fun writing it and occasionally voicing in it. And I wouldn't do something this long if I wasn't having fun doing it. So
be passionate.
Yeah, remind yourself why. Like, why did you get into it? Why did you start doing it? And that's like the biggest thing I think any creator should remind themselves if they hit a rut or they're asking kind of existential questions,
Right, right.
Yeah, do that. I think that's my biggest little piece of wisdom.
All right. Well, all right, folks, that'll do it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please be sure to check out my guest's work and keep creating. Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Robots Radio Rocket Club, a program designed to help all podcasts reach their full potential. For information about joining the Robots Radio Rocket Club, check out robotsradio.net.